Wise man say forgiveness is divine, but never pay full price for late pizza.
What's going on, everybody? It's Bottom Tier Collector. I'm your host, BTC. I'm bringing you top tier advice from a bottom tier collector. This video stems from a series I tried to make monthly over a year ago, advice from a 10-year comic vet. I'm now an 11-year comic vet, and I think ultimately it fizzled out because I didn't have any direction. It was something I had a lot of thoughts and opinions and advice I wanted to share with you that I still have tucked away here in the old noggin from my experiences and my journey in the hobby. But it's something I need to probably formulate out and have an outline and a clear direction of the advice I'm going to give you guys. But earlier tonight, I was watching Brian LCS's Making Comic Collecting Great Again. And he was just kind of talking about how he wants to get hyper-focused again. And he wants to buckle down on his spending. And that's kind of inspired me to get this video uploaded. Also, another conversation I had with one of my Instagram community groups about how they didn't know about one tip I'm going to give in this video. That also encouraged me to send this video out. I feel like people, this community has been around long enough that I'm starting to see some turnover. I'm starting to see some new faces as I'm noticing people are starting to exit the community, be it life or they're done with comics or whatever. I'm also starting to see fresh new faces. I think this series has relevancy and validity. And even though a lot of this information I'm about to give you guys is common knowledge, somebody out there may not know about this information, and I would really want you guys that aren't aware of this information to at least consider it. Now, before I get into this video, as always, when it comes to my advice videos, I'm not out here to tell you how to collect. I'm not out here to tell you the way you do things is wrong and the way I do things is right. This is just advice. This is just opinions. Your mileage may vary, and take everything I say with a grain of salt in this video. So let's get into it. The first thing I want to talk about is Hoopla. I think every single person that reads comic books, I don't care how much you love your physical books, you need to get on Hoopla. I'm sorry, it's just, why would you not want to utilize a free freaking resource for reading comic books? Hoopla. Let me show you my homepage here. So it's linked to my public library, and here, I don't know how well the camera's going to show my screen, but these are the 4 books I checked out this month. I will go to my Hoopla, where you can see I've checked out Dark Knights of Steel Volume 1, Dark Knights of Steel Volume 2, Void Rivals Volume 1, and the Old Man Logan trade paperback. I think it's best utilized for trade paperbacks and not single issues, because you can only check out 4 times a month. I don't know if that's library to library based, and maybe other libraries have different rules, but for my library, I can only check out 4 times a month. And these 6-issue trade paperbacks, that's like 30 minutes to an hour's worth of reading. It's really not a lot of reading, because a lot, especially modern storytelling, reads really, really fast. There's not that much exposition in a modern comic book. Doesn't make it better or worse than old comic books. That's just the way it is. And I go to Hoopla just to give you something to consider from my experience. I like to go to Hoopla for things that I really want to read, but I really don't want to pay for. So that Dark Knights of Steel, that is a perfect example of something I really want to read, I really want to experience and get into, because the Dark Knights of Steel All Winter started this month, and I want to get in on it. When that first trade paperback comes out for All Winter, I want to get in on it. It really looks cool. It really looks up my alley. So I went and checked out those 2 Dark Knights of Steel trade paperbacks. But it's something that is just a fun experience. It's not something I feel like is going to be memorable. Not something I feel like I need a physical copies taking up my comic books, or taking up space in my comic boxes. So it's just a great way to have my cake and eat it. I can experience the story and I don't have to pay for it. I can return it back to the Decatur Public Library for someone else to read and enjoy, and I can go about my business and I still have the space it would have taken up in a box allocated for something I actually care about in the comic book. So that's the first tip. I just want everybody watching this video to get on Hoopla. I don't care who you are. Go to your public library. If you have one in your town, get you a library card and sign up for Hoopla. Next up, this is common knowledge, but again, I am discovering that some things I think are common knowledge kind of aren't. There are two apps. I don't know. I would encourage you, if you are fans of other comic book publishing companies, seek out their applications as well. I am aware of Marvel Unlimited and DC Infinite, the big two. I've tried to look up Image, I've tried to look up Dark Horse, and I can't find a subscription-based digital reading application for Image and Dark Horse. Maybe there is. If there is an Image subscription-based app, please talk about it in the comments. I would really like to sign up for that, because I'm way behind on my Spawn Universe reading, and that would be a great way to help me get caught up on my Spawn Universe. DC Infinite, Marvel Unlimited, what I like about these particular apps and what they offer, it's more, for me it's more about the single issue based experience. However, with DC Infinite, I procured an entire reading list, and I'm sure Marvel Unlimited can do the same thing. You can create your own list and add comic books to these lists. So I would go to masterreadingorder.com, where I get all my master reading lists, and I created a digital omnibus of Crisis on Infinite Earths, and I piled them all up onto this list in order. I went in order so it would read like an omnibus. And I essentially read Crisis on Infinite Earths on DC Infinite in its entirety. It was 60 issues, all 60 issues in order. It's a convoluted story, so I won't say it flowed well, but it was nice to just, as soon as I'm finishing an issue, I'm opening up the next one in my list, and I don't have to worry about digging through the database or whatever on the app. It's also a great way for you to read very expensive comic books. All-Star Comics #3. That's a comic book I wanted to read before I died, because it's considered by some people to be the first appearance of the DC Universe. It's kind of the first time that a large group of DC superhero characters sit at the table and form a team. I would imagine if that book was a 9.8, it'd be a $50,000, $100,000, $150,000 book because of its significance to DC Comics and comic books in general. It's a golden age key. I got to read it for the price of the DC Infinite subscription. Not my favorite book in the world. Heavy exposition. My God, was it painful to read. But that's not really the point. I can say that I've read All-Star Comics 3, and I can also say I'll probably never ever see a first print, not reprinted All-Star Comics 3 in my life. I don't think I'll even have the privilege of laying hands on that book. So very nice to go to DC Infinite for the price of, I think at the time it was $7 a month. And read a $100,000 comic book. And you also, when it comes to reading digitally, you get the panel view. And I know I just read House of Brainiac, finished up the arc in physical copy. I love my physical comic books. I got 3 hanging up behind me. I love reading them. That's the way God intended it to be, for us to read single physical issues, to quote Fanboy Prime. However, it's really, really nice to use that panel view. It really helps with transitioning the action in a comic book. It really plays it out like a TV show or a movie in your brain. And it doesn't spoil, also doesn't spoil the story for you as well, because you're taking it one panel at a time. I really like that panel view. It's the greatest benefit of digital reading that I can think of. While we're talking about the benefits of not reading physical single issues, let's transition into DCB Service, DCBS Service, the parent of InStockTrades.com, which I will touch on InStock Trades in a minute. But DCBS Service, I'm not sure how to pronounce the name. It's confusing to me. But they are the website, the company that I use for my pull list now. I've just had one issue or another, whether it be my personal problem or whether it be the comic store's problem and they're screwing me. Whatever the case may be, I've just had issues with every single LCS I've had a pull list with in the area. So I'm just opting to cut the headache out and use DCB Service. Fear not, I still support my local businesses. I still shop back issues, trades, whatever, with these comic book stores. They make plenty of money off of me, so don't point your pitchforks at me, because I'm just opting to go online with my pull list. I do not take my area for granted, for sure. But DCBS is great. I get 40% off every single issue, just about. Sometimes it's 30% off, but most of the time it's 40% off every single issue. So I'm not paying that god-awful $4.99 a freaking book for DC and Marvel books. Whew. And then the main thing I'd like to impart on you guys while I'm talking about DCB Service is the omnibus pre-orders. If you can help it, I know sometimes there are certain omnibus that are so out of print and so rare. Wolverine Volume 1, I'm looking at you. I should have pre-ordered that when it was first printed. I understand there's exceptions to the rule, and sometimes you have to pay full price for an omnibus. But I would encourage you, if you think you can get around paying full price for a comic book, please go to DCB Service and pre-order. Use their omnibus pre-order. You can get up to 70% off these $125 omnibus. You can get them for like 50, 60, 70 bucks. It's fantastic. It's the number one thing I really like about DCBS. Now, the one negative, the one con I will say about DCBS is their variants are unrealistic. They're priced not to sell, and I don't know what they're thinking pricing like 1 in 50 variants for 200 bucks. It's insane. So I wouldn't go there for variants at all, but for your regular pull list books and for your collected edition pre-orders, I would strongly recommend you make DCBS your home for your pre-orders. We'll segue into InStockTrades.com, a website that I used for the first time. I've known about them for forever. You can get the InStockTrades.com is exactly the way it sounds. It's omnibus compendiums and trades. They don't do single issues. Up to 42% off. And InStockTrades.com, I kind of shopped around. The Lobo compendium has been out for several weeks, and that's the next stop for me in my compendium omnibus reading goal for 2024 is that Lobo compendium. And I kind of shopped around and found the cheapest option was to go with InStockTrades.com. Like a $65-ish compendium, might be more than that, might be more like $70, $75, not too sure, but it's a compendium, so it's not too outrageous on the MSRP compared to a hardback omnibus. I think after taxes, shipping, and fees, and all of it all together, it was like 40 bucks and some change, which is a pretty solid deal. That's what I was getting my Spawn compendiums for, pre-ordered on DCB Service. So don't sleep on InStockTrades.com. It's another tool you can put in your arsenal to shop around for your omnibus and your collected editions. I'd also like to name drop cheapgraphicnovels.com. Again, just like InStockTrades.com, just another tool in your arsenal. I think I've purchased 2 or 3 things off there. I think I purchased my Jack Kirby's Fourth World Omnibus off of Cheap Graphic Novels. I know I may have purchased a Hitman trade off of Cheap Graphic Novels, and I think I purchased something else. I made a couple purchases off Cheap Graphic Novels, so they're a legit website. They look like a spam virusy website because it's not the most professional looking interface, but I can verify Scout's Honor that Cheap Graphic Novels, I think they even sponsor Gem Mint Collectibles. That's how I know about cheapgraphicnovels.com, is through Gem Mint Collectibles. Go there. They're another way to look for your collected editions on sale. Speaking of things on sale, I'd like to offer up Midtown Comics, the big comic book store from New York City. They have a website, obviously, and I would encourage you to get on their email list because they'll email you when they're having their big sales. They have these big sales, sometimes monthly, sometimes quarterly, but sometimes they'll be up to 50% off. And it'll be a sale like everything in our stock that starts with the letter C is going to be up to 75% off. And you'll if you're collecting like Catwoman, for instance, you're going to want to know about that sale. And they have new issues, back issues. They may not have exactly what you're looking for, but they've got tons and tons of stuff. I bought quite a few books off Midtown because just their normal regular prices are fairly decent. Sometimes you can do better on Midtown than eBay for comic books as well, and not necessarily for the sales. But I'd say the thing I'm most proud of from buying off Midtown is I got a 1 in 100, a Death Metal number 5, because it had Lobo on the cover for $30. And I'm someone that I believe the value for incentive ratio variance should be $1 per integer. You shouldn't be paying $26 for a 1 in 25. You shouldn't be paying $51 for a 1 in 50. You kind of get where I'm going at. And so to get a 1 in 100 for $30 was a steal. I had to bring that baby home. Looking back now, I'm sure that book has dropped significantly in value, but for me, I can sleep well at night knowing I didn't pay $100 for a 1 in 100 variant, and that's really the bottom line for me. So, again, Midtown Comics, don't sleep on their website. They have major sales. In fact, I need to revisit Midtown and see if they got any sales going on. There's Comixology, and they do sales, but honestly, with all these streaming services and Hoopla being available to make reading digitally so relatively cheap, I feel like Comixology is just an outdated, irrelevant concept. Purchasing digital comic books like you would physical comic books. Paying $4.99 for a brand new digital comic book when you could just wait 6 months and not pay anything and read that book on Hoopla in trade paperback. Why would you do that? So I would stay away from Comixology, and I would stay away from paying MSRP. I would stay away from purchasing digital comic books, period. Honestly, that would be my advice to you guys out there. There's, again, I've stated ways you can read your digital comics very cheap. eBay. I'm going to close out with eBay. This is the last tool. Well, no, I got 2 more, but I'll continue on with eBay, and then I'll have 1 more tool to put in your arsenal to make comic hunting and collecting online a better, cheaper experience for you. But with eBay, something you can do, a little way to manipulate the system, if you will. Type in something generic. Now, it doesn't have to be comics, but I suggest using comics, at least for your first time, just to see how this little manipulation works. So type in something generic like comics, press enter, then sort it out by ending soonest. and it's going to list it in by everything that is listed on eBay under comics in auction form. And you're going to find things that are ending in 30 seconds, 5 seconds, 20 seconds, 30 seconds, a minute, 15 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever. And it's just a great way to get in there. It's a really useful tool for sniping books that interest you. It may not be the most effective way to find exactly what you're looking for, but you can oftentimes find things that at least interest you using this tool. And it's a real good way to get in there and snipe, last second auctions that have been bidded on. And a lot of them, I'd say at least 50% of the listings, if not more, aren't even bid on. So it's you can get in there and get some books real quick that way. Now, if you're a person that's bad with FOMO, you might want to steer clear of that whole thing, because if you're like me, the adrenaline starts pumping when the time starts running out. Kind of thing. I almost got myself in trouble a week or two ago, but luckily I forgot about the listing and did not bid and pay for what I was looking at. But yeah, it's again another tool you should put in your arsenal. And lastly, I would like to end with mycomicshop.com. Most people know about mycomicshop.com. I would encourage you, if you don't know about mycomicshop.com, to just go there, explore, and look around. I find their prices for their comic books, now you have to ignore their slab auctions and their consignment offerings. Those are outrageous. Those are incredibly unrealistic prices. But if you just look at the regular listings, I find they can sometimes be 5, 10, 15% cheaper than eBay. So they're a really good place to go for your run fillers. I feel like it's a really good place for run fillers. I know 22 Comics uses mycomicshop.com as his pull list. They ship him his monthly pulls, so you can also set up a pull list with mycomicshop.com if you prefer them, if you find them out to be cheaper than DCB service. And then they also have dollar bins. So again, this is the tool to put in your arsenal. Check the mycomicshop.com dollar bins. And as always, when you're using any website that is a good, legitimate website, sign up for the email mailing list. Yes, it's set up maybe a separate Gmail just for these mailing lists or whatever, so that you're not getting them in your primary or your professional email. A lot of these stores, I know Midtown does, will email you coupon codes. Mile High Comics ships coupon codes, and unfortunately Mile High Comics has mile high prices, so the coupon codes, which can be 60, 70, 80% off, still don't bring the comics down enough for you to want to pull the trigger on them. But that is the case. I think mycomicshop.com sends an email code as well, so it's an archaic thing using the old email, but an email mailing list. I know it's 2024, but do it. Set up an email and get on these websites and mailing lists, and that you will be alerted of the Midtown sales. Another huge store, Third Eye Comics out of Washington, D.C., they have an online store. Get on their mailing list. They'll send you an email, I guarantee you, whenever they're having an online sale. So that is my rundown of the things I use when I'm shopping online, because you never want to pay full price for comic books, right? Now, sometimes you have to pay full price, sometimes you have to pay over full price for a comic book, but at least pay fair market value or less than fair market value for your comics and collectibles. There are ways to save money online. Hope that you guys found this useful. Hope somebody out there learns something new from this video. This is BTC, bringing you advice from a comic book veteran. Until next time.